from TradeGenius.co. I mean, are you serious? What a time. What is going on? We got a new president, and the market has never been ever this strong. Bob, I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, well, they're giving you an appearance of strength here, Paul. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but the central bankers around the world now own 40% of the gross domestic product of the entire world. So they have been buying stocks like crazy since Trump's been in office. And the reasoning behind it is that, number one, is I think they're a little afraid of him.
Okay.
And so they're trying to debase their currencies ahead of President Trump trying to even the playing field, if you will. But what happens is it created this environment where the central bank started buying stocks and buying bonds, and now they own everything. And as we were talking about a little bit earlier, there's no more volume left in the market, and the market's all what they call passive. Everything's run by hedge funds and financial managers, and what they're doing is that they're not selling, and so nobody's buying and nobody's selling, so there's no volume. So it gets to a point where something will break, and so we've been positioning people, in gold and silver because they've been trying to push that down. But gold and silver said no more this week, and they started pushing up, and I think that's what's going to break the logjam.
Yeah, I just noticed today, gold up $4.30, silver up about 6 cents, I think. No, I don't know. Gold is up $4.30 at $1,228.50 an ounce. That's extremely high. I remember maybe 2 years ago, we were talking $800 an ounce. I mean, so gold has really been rising, but you're saying the market's kind of stagnant. Not the numbers. The numbers are strong. It's just the volume of trading is very soft, and so people are looking toward gold.
Yeah, so, I always joke with some other people that are pretty aware, like myself, it's like, hey, peace and safety, then comes sudden destruction. I think that's that might be the market, because there's nobody buying the market other than central banks, and at some point they're not going to be able to. And so, we just been positioning people to be very careful. If you made a lot of money on this move, put some to cash, move some over into precious metals, and be prepared for some volatility ahead, because as you know, the politics have just become more poisonous.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful, Bob. I mean, let me ask you a question. It seemed like when Trump came out with his tax plan, I realize it hasn't, they're not even, they're still working on Obamacare. We'll talk about that in a minute, but he come out with this tax plan, which seemed to be like this jubilation, I heard, like this celebration in the streets, especially the middle class. But is the market now going to sit and wait to see if Congress will actually put together this new deregulating of business, slicing of taxes?
Yeah, well, the deregulations is happening, and that's a good thing. But the Obamacare replacement, I guess we have to wait and see what the Senate comes up with. But if it's just what the House voted on, then I think America's in serious trouble, because all they did was get rid of the pre-existing condition thing and pushed it to the states, and to make room for the tax cuts that are only going to benefit people who pay a lot in taxes. So I'm just concerned that the middle class is not being well served here. But I don't think anything's going to happen, quite frankly, with the tax cuts. I think it's gonna slowly die away, and the Senate has to come up with something. I don't know if you saw, but more states have just abandoned Obamacare. So we're either going to get Trump care, what the House has, which is not that great, or we're going to get Obamacare that's just going to kill everybody. So now, I tell people, because you see, look at all the retailers. People don't have any money, Paul. So people aren't buying anything.
No.
And so, and that's why you saw oil drop, 12% in 3 weeks. It's just that unless they free the middle class, it's going to be a problem. And, that's why, we started Trade Genius trying to teach people, how to trade, get a backup plan, because, we're making money, and we need to get people, when I get calls all the time, hey, I lost my job, I got to do something, can you help?
Okay.
And best thing I could do is teach them how to fish.
Right. So you're saying,
and get them going.
Yeah. So this is Bob Kudla from TradeGenius.co. He has started, and that's what I'm hearing you say is, people need to be able to get in position to drive their own ship, their own, instead of waiting on the hedge funds, trying to figure out which one to get in, not sure what to do. You have started a Trade Genius Academy, and you are going to teach them at TradeGeniusAcademy.com. You're going to actually teach people how to be a trader themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that we've done, all our secrets, all our tricks, all our tips, all our methodologies, we put them together and we put it out there for everybody. So nothing's hidden. It's not like, hey, go to my academy, then I have more secrets. Everything's laid out. So I teach you from not knowing anything about the stock market all the way through being a sophisticated investor. We have things for people who have very little capital to invest, to people that have quite a bit of a size portfolio. If they want to day trade, or if they want to swing trade, or if they want to do long-term trading, we have plans for all of that. And we were overwhelmed with the response. People have been asking me for months to do it, and it took me 6 months to put it all together. And then once we did it, it just exploded.
So is it an online?
Excited.
So if they go to your website, of course, at TradeGenius.co, there's probably a link there that takes them to your academy. First, they got to get signed up, right?
Yeah, Paul, they can actually go right to the academy, TradeGeniusAcademy.com.
All right.
It's all online courses.
Okay, so it's online courses, folks, and it's a way to learn how to be your own manager, how to get involved, how to be an investor in the market, whether you're long-term, short-term, day trading, whatever. I mean, and you give them a good education on currencies, on futures, just a lot of things. And I understand the market is an emotional thing, and with the emotions, the poison in the swamp in Washington, it's got to be a little trepidatious out there in the market, isn't it?
Yeah, and knowledge is power. And so if you kind of know why things do what they do, you're calm. And then hey, I was taught that, I can see that, I see why they're doing that. Okay, now I know how to position myself. And that's why we never worry. People say all the time to me, oh, Bob, the stock market's going to crash, we should just get out. I'm like, no, there's a bull market in something all the time. Right. Even in the Great Depression, people got rich. So it all depends on what you're going to invest in, where you're going to spend your time, how you're going to invest your capital. And, you want to be out of the things that aren't going to do well, and you want to get into the things that are going to start to do well.
Right.
And so that's what we teach people. I even have a class in there telling people what to buy, when to buy it, what month to buy, what week to buy, what day to buy, everything.
So you really give them some good numbers, some historical data, the ebb and flow of the market to help them understand what they're doing and walk. Don't you think they got to walk? I mean, you got to crawl even before you walk. Should you take your time, go easy here?
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. You have to crawl before you walk before you run, and when we line it all out that way for you, there's 12 classes, there's 10 tips and tricks, there's a path for people to go from 0 to 100.
Wow. Well, let's talk about this for a minute. We're going to talk about Obamacare in a moment, but before we do, the tax plan. I mean, when Trump said he was going to cut the taxes down to 15% for most of the middle class, I mean, I would think that small businesses would really get excited about. They would really start investing in certain areas, not in retail. I don't think retail's got a chance anymore. I think it's all about online, Amazon, you know what I'm saying? But
Yep.
wouldn't a middle class tax break taking this thing back down to 15%, wouldn't this just fuel this economy?
Well, actually, what will stimulate the economy is that the part that's good, even though it sounds bad, is that if they lower the corporate tax rates, it'll bring a lot of money back in the country. And by bringing the money back in the country, that's what Trump wants to use for his infrastructure.
Okay.
And so that part, I think, it's all packaged. And, if you realize, most corporations they pay on average at 10%, even though the tax rate's at 35%.
Right. Because they're doing capital investments, and they're going, they're operating their depreciation. They're doing a lot of fancy. The big boys, I know they play that game. The middle, and it's legal, by the way. It's legal, depreciation and capital investments. But the middle, let's say the small business owner, even though he does have some opportunities in those areas, man, it kills you. It kills you if you was a company and just makes $150,000 profit. They just bury you in that. You hit 100,000, they just whack you. I mean, those are the guys that are really getting hurt here.
Yeah, and I think those are the people. The 15% tax bracket are going to really help the people who have what they call like an S corporation.
Yeah.
Or a LLC where you have what's called pass-through income.
Yeah.
If that gets pushed down to 15%, then those people aren't making the decision whether do I hire somebody or do I not grow the business. And and I'm a small business owner.
Right.
My wife also owns a business, and we make that decision all the time. Hey, if we make a little bit more money, we actually start losing money
because the tax bracket. Because of the tax bracket, right?
It's a tax disincentive. So we're like, okay. We're not going to do that. Why work extra hard for somebody else, for no reason whatsoever?
Right.
And those are the incentives that got to get smoothed out. But more importantly is what he's doing well is on the deregulation side. It's got to get government out of our way,
right.
Number one.
Right. And I really do think President Trump is doing a great job in deregulation of businesses. Get all the red tape, get all the hassle out of the way, get government out of our business, and then business will work much better. I've always believed that. That's a conservative approach. That's almost the Reaganomic approach, and it worked pretty good. It really set up the 90s, I think. The Reaganomic mentality of smaller business, smaller government means, better for business. I think it really helped even the Clinton years because they kind of fed off of it,
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's a lot of people have a great dislike for the Clintons, but one of the things that he did very well was he got out of the way, and it caused a budget surplus, and
right.
But they couldn't keep their fingers out of the cookie jar, Paul. So they screwed it all back up again.
Let's talk about some currencies because in your academy, I'm sure you're going to give people 12 classes and give them real good, historical data. But also, I'm looking at currencies a little bit. Now that the European Union, with the Brexit, what has this done to the euro? Is it volatile right now?
Yeah, it is. And, ironically, what's going to happen is you'll start seeing the euro actually rise in value as countries start to fall away, because really what everybody correctly understands the euro to be is Germany. So it's just kind of hard to. People think that currency means strength of your country, but really what it means is how much currency are you putting out there. And so the United States, our currency is rising really strongly, not necessarily because our economy is doing great. We're at 0% GDP growth. It's just that other countries and central banks are printing more currency.
That's quantum easing. Isn't that quantum easing? Isn't that what the central bankers are doing?
Exactly what's happening. Everybody else is doing it and we're not. And so that helps with imports, but also hurts with exports. And so You have Japan, who's been relentless, and that's why why has gold, silver been going down, is because the Japanese have been selling their currency so hard, and it pushes our dollar up, which makes the value of gold and dollars fall. But Japan has hit a point now where they can't do it anymore. It's starting to screw other things up. And that's what was our signal to say, okay, now it's time for gold and silver. Japanese currency is going to turn. The European currency is going to turn, and the dollar should start to fall. And so that gives us a whole set of other opportunities to trade. And that's why I said it's like, there's no necessarily, even if things go bad, doesn't necessarily mean that there's nothing to trade. It's just that you just have to shift your mindset.
Right.
And we teach people that. And people get the signals. I have a chat room. We talk all day long about this stuff. So, hopefully we get people really, really professional, in terms of being able to trade. And we've taken people who've never traded before in their life who can actually probably go and teach me a thing or two now.
It's amazing. You have, folks, this is Bob Kudla from TradeGenius.co. That's Bob Kudla, from TradeGenius.co. You have been doing you've been watching the ebb and flow of the market based on the weather, which is the first time I met you. I said, what in the world? Amazing. But energy prices based on the weather, food prices, corn, wheat, barley. I mean, this is part of what people learn when they come to your website.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we have is we know what months, like right now, sugar has been flying higher. Well, we knew the 1st of May is when you buy sugar. Going into summer is when you buy the grains. Going into the fall is when you buy oil. So we teach people when to buy, what to buy, and we have signals that do the same. And going into June and July is strong for silver and gold. So these things just make sense. So when people are sitting there going, well, why are you buying it? It's been going down because now it's going to turn. You want to be like Wayne Gretzky said. You want to go where the hockey puck is going. You don't want to skate behind the puck.
Right.
And so that's what 20 years of trading has taught us is when to look and expect these turns and what signals are going to inform us of that. And that's why we jumped on gold and silver this week. And we're all up 4 or 5% for the week. It's been a very good week for us.
Yeah. And so you saying to people, all right, go ahead and buy now on gold, even though gold is I'm looking at it right now. It's $1,227.90 an ounce. You're saying buy, even though that's pretty high. You're saying buy because June and July it's going to peak. It's going to actually. What are you looking for it to do? Go to $1,400 an ounce?
Yep. Yeah, I think there's probably a 5 to 10% move in gold before it has to sit and think again. And if Trump gets everything he wants in taxes and in spending, gold will go through the roof. So gold is still going up. So it depends, is it going to go up slow or is it going to go up fast? It all depends on what policies are going to be enacted. And the Federal Reserve, if they just stop with their talk of raising rates, gold and silver will double. And they're not going to be able to raise rates much. I mean, just all your listeners, just ask yourself, how many more increases in your mortgage and your car payment and your credit card payments can you take?
Right.
Before it blows you up.
Right. They cannot mess with the interest rate and start trying to raise that. They'll mess the economy. They'll kill it.
Exactly.
High taxes and high interest rates kill an economy. It's like, there's only so many, there's only so much you can do. You can't. The old saying is you can't get blood out of a turnip, and if you keep squeezing, you're going to run out of blood. It's going to run out. So let's hope they leave that alone. There's no doubt about that, and I agree with you.
Yeah, I think they're almost done. They're not going to be able. They can't justify it. So,
Bob,
you have a 0% economy.
Yeah, Bob, I'm getting inundated with people about the Iraqi Dinar. I mean, I get people email me. I know people who have $1 million worth of dinar, $1 million dinars, or 10 million dinars, and others are saying, should I buy dinars? Is there going to be an increase? As a matter of fact, Jared Kushner went to Iraq. And when he went to Iraq, it's like, why is he going to Iraq? I mean, he's not a war expert. What is that about? Was that to do with the reevaluation of the dinar? Do you see that coming?
Well, I mean, Iraq is I don't think people really realize well, right now, the United States is the number one producer of oil in the world. Believe it or not, we just took over the mantle again.
Wow.
And then you have Saudi Arabia. You have Russia, and then you have Iraq, and Iraq's only producing half of their country, and once the Kurds get settled in the north there and they get ISIS moved out, Iraq easily could be the number one oil producer in the world. And you got to realize, all those pipelines go through all that area,
right?
So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the Iraqi dinar move up in value quite considerably. In fact, I don't know if you know this, Paul, but we probably talked before when we met, but I used to be in the Marine Corps, and so I got Iraqi dinar sitting on top of my picture of me in the Marine Corps, sitting high of Iraqi dinar stapled to that picture frame.
Well, here's a question, and I haven't looked at the dinar because I get these emails because I did do a video because I got information about the fact that Kushner went there, and I know Trump is trying to annihilate ISIS, and he dropped the mother of all bombs on ISIS's head in Afghanistan, and he keeps saying he wants to wipe them out, clean them out of the way. If he's able to do that and to get Iraq reestablished with their oil production, and as you say, the dinar could really go up. I mean, what if the dinar, which is like right now, I don't know, 1,300 dinars to the dollar or something crazy. I mean, what if the dinar was to get reevaluated on a world stage and there was 5 dinars for every dollar? Just something like that. I mean, that would be massive transfer of value and wealth for that nation, wouldn't it?
Oh, there's no doubt.
Is it possible that could happen?
Oh, sure. I mean, you can't know the future, specifically that way, but maybe that's where Babylon Rising comes from. Who knows?
Wow.
But they're sitting in the middle of all that oil, and they sit in the middle of all those pipelines. And so, if they can engender any kind of peace in that area, I just think that their currencies are going to rocket.
Yeah. I think that this is, and I think you're all, see, there you're using the term, the currency's going to rocket. I mean, so if a person's sitting there and you're saying, okay, the stock market, nobody's trading much. People are looking at gold, looking at silver, and is it okay to take a peek at the dinar? It's a long shot because that all depends on the geopolitical, landscape. But if Trump, with his mentality of it's America first, but America's invested pretty big in our own oil. You just said we're now number one. He just opened up the Keystone Pipeline. I'm sure that he's deregulating a lot of the EPA regulations, which is going to free up oil and coal. So should people look at our energies? Should people invest in coal?
Well, it's like anything else. I consider it an alternative investment. I think people should look at something. And it's one of the things you just put a little bit away and wake up one day surprised and happy. The same like with Bitcoin. The same with gold. Same with silver. You don't want to move all your chips in.
No.
In case something happens and they make the currency worthless. But if you have $500 or $1,000, whatever, that you want to take a shot at it and and have it turn into an Amazon kind of a move. Those things have happened before. But my only caution is don't get crazy because it typically never works out that you're gonna win the lottery. That's why I call them lottery picks. Just throw some away and see what happens in 5 or 10 years.
Right. And so gradual growth is much better. Get educated, get understanding how the markets work, learn the tricks of the trade basically, and don't go hog wild. Don't go chasing the golden rainbow. The pot of gold's probably not at the end of it. Stay focused. And as a Christian, I have to encourage people to be very careful that they need to follow the laws of God as it relates to their finances, their giving, and be focused. But at the same time, knowledge is lethal. The more you understand, my people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. And so the more you understand, the more you have the discipline to figure out what you should do with your 401ks, your IRAs, maybe your inheritance. People get inheritances. They say, what do I do with this money? Where do I put it? Just don't throw it at the stock market. Learn what's going on in the market to kind of figure out how to diversify it. Wouldn't you say that's a better approach?
Absolutely. The analogy I always give people is be an ant, don't be a grasshopper. and the way, and I'll just, if you can indulge me for a second, I'll just tell you how I approach it personally. Is that
okay?
I'm mostly in the stock market in the sense that that's where I drive a lot of my income from, but I don't ever have more than 50% invested at any time. But what I do is use my methodology to extract 1 to 1.5% out of the market every week. And that gives you 60 to 70% return a year. That you can just keep driving your portfolio forward or taking money out for income. And I've been doing it for years. And you can do it if you have a smaller account like myself, I'm like a Warren Buffett, we're trying to move billions. But, we call it being a seagull. And that's what I teach people at the academy. We're a seagull. We watch where the sharks and the whales are feeding. We come in, we feed alongside of them, we take our profit, and then we hop off, let the bait fish get eaten, and then we follow the whales and the sharks to the next feeding frenzy.
Wow.
And you just do this again and again and again, rinse and repeat. So we really don't care what the market does. We just need to know, in advance where we think the sharks and the whales are going, and we follow them.
So you watch the sharks and the whales. You get an overall education of the market. You watch the sharks and the whales, and you want to be in there to nibble along the side and pick up the scraps along the way, and then get out of there before something big comes along to eat the. There's an old saying when I was in business, and that is, pigs get eaten, but hogs get slaughtered.
Exactly.
So be careful out there. And I want people to be sure they understand this, folks. You want to, in everything you do, you should pray. I mean, you get all the knowledge that's possible. Go to, Bob Kudla's site at tradegenius.co. And as a matter of fact, on the screen, we've been putting my URL there. You can click right on that. It takes you right there, folks. But when you go, and everything you learn, make sure you pray. The Bible does say the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. And there's another great scripture for you if you want to get involved in the market and in trading and really learn from Bob, who's a good Christian man who really loves people and who really wants to help you in his academy. And that is, the Bible says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge the Lord and he will direct your path. And I think if people get a good balance spiritually and mentally, they can be successful in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get greedy.
Yeah.
And things will come, and we call it the aha factor. People, I don't get it, Bob. 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 Aha. And it's just it just takes time, to get, like riding a bike. Once you kind of get a sense for it and you get the nuances and you get the feel and the flow, then you're like, okay, this isn't as hard as I thought. And like you said, you have to have good discernment. You need to be a Berean. Don't listen to the news. You go out there and do your own homework.
Right. Right.
And even with myself, don't just take anything I say as gospel. Hey, that's great information, Bob. Let's dig into it a little bit. And let's test it, see if it works for me personally. Not everything's, everything I do is a good fit for everybody. So, just make sure it's what works for you, you know?
Right. Folks, and seriously, and Bob, one more question for you here. I think it's very important is people are wondering, you talk about gold, talk about silver, talk about precious metals, and but at the same time, and we know the political landscape, you got to watch what that is. You mentioned a couple things. If Trump gets his if he gets his tax plan in what he wants, you can watch for things to skyrocket. There'll be a growth, no question about it. Gold will go through the roof maybe. So you got to lay low and watch what's going on, and then saying this, strike when the iron's hot, but get out before it gets ice cold. Don't get greedy. Don't hang in there too long, right?
Absolutely. That's why I tell people, the market has gone up 36% since the beginning of 2016, with the economy growing at 1%. That's not normal, and so usually the stock market moves as fast as the economy over time.
Right.
So either it's going to do nothing for many years, or it's going to fall.
Right.
And if it falls, and especially I'm in my 50s, Paul. People my age with a sizable portfolio, they're not going to be able to handle another 20 or 30% correction in their
lifetime,
because that's going to require a 40% increase to get back to zero. And people are going to be in their 70s before that happens.
Yeah.
And so I worry for people, and I tell people, you need to take a good hard look, challenge your financial advisors, get yourself a hedge, learn how to trade to get some income. Don't just be reliant on these people, because they just get paid for accounts under management. They don't necessarily get paid for performance.
Right.
So it's really your responsibility. And, hey, best case scenario, the market goes up a couple percent more. Worst case scenario is going down 20 or 30%. You do the math.
Yeah. It's a facade, basically. I remember the .com days back in the late 90s and early 2000. There was all these IPOs, okay? Everybody was doing an IPO, and it was based on potential, not on performance and profit. And I've never been in the stock market in my life, okay? I've never been in my life. But I was sitting there watching, and I said to some of the guys that were in it, I said, guys, this is a facade. I'm sorry, but these .com companies aren't making money, okay? At some point, performance will have to dictate the value. And when it does, look out. The bottom will fall out. And it did. It did.
Yeah, and it's happening again. I just saw a chart today, made me laugh so hard. The time you were talking about, they had the sock puppet. I don't remember that for the Super Bowl. Now we got the unicorn and the rainbow with Snapchat. And
there you go.
Right before major collapses,
You're right.
This is absolutely a Pharisee market, Paul.
Yep.
All beautiful on the outside but dead inside, and
Whoa.
that's right.
A Pharisee. There you go, folks. There's the line of the day. A Pharisee market. Outside is all clean. It's like white sepulcher, but inside full of dead men's bones. Oh man. Bob, I appreciate you coming on. I love talking to you.
I get so worried for people.
I love talking to you, Bob, and I appreciate it so much. And
well, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for you talking about the things that we do. I really appreciate it.
Folks, again, keep watching. Go to his website at tradegenius.co, and there you'll see the URL. You can click on it. Follow the Paul Begley link to it if you want to, but get over there and learn and then make a decision. And it's good that you always make informed decisions. And Bob Kudla is a good guy. He'll tell you the truth. He'll help you. And so we thank you for coming on, Bob.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Have a great day.
All right, you too. God bless.
God bless.